Hi, I'm Shoestring Jane and welcome back to my channel where I talk about all things thrifty, frugal and money saving. And today I thought I'd talk about whether money can bring you happiness. And you might think that's a strange kind of subject for me because I tend to look at frugality and I'm clearly not somebody who chases money. But that doesn't mean that I haven't given it quite a lot of thought over time. And there's no doubt in my mind that not having enough money and being in poverty, not being able to pay your rent, not being able to feed your family is clearly not a recipe for happiness. And having more money in that sort of situation is clearly going to bring you at least a foundation for happiness, because it's very, very difficult to be happy when you are living with just not enough of anything, without life's kind of basic comforts. We need to have a good starting position, so a starting position of having enough of those things. And I think that managing your money well can help you to kind of start with a decent foundation. But once you've got enough to pay your rent and to pay your mortgage and to pay your bills and to eat and clothe yourself and have some luxuries in your life, like perhaps a car and a holiday and those kind of things, once you have those things covered, how much more money will bring you more joy? And that's the thing I really wanted to think about, because people, we have a kind of idea, don't we? People want to get rich. They're running to play the lottery or win the pools. Does the pool still exist? I don't know. Or, you know, they fall for get rich quick schemes, or they buy into cryptocurrencies and sometimes come unstuck. I know some people do well with cryptocurrency. You know, judging by the number of people that are drawn to the idea of getting rich and getting rich quickly, it does suggest that most of us do believe that having a lot of money is the route and the way to become happy. So I wonder really if getting wealth suddenly is a good way to be happy with your money, or maybe you can be wealthy and happy because you've done it a different way. Perhaps you've had to, manage your money slowly, build up a business, doing something that you enjoy. And maybe that is the key to being more happy with the money. So you've used the money to get the sort of life that you've been really wanting, but that isn't necessarily a life full of parties and, rock and roll and drugs and lots of kind of surface things that people think are going to make them happy, but don't necessarily make them happy. And I'm thinking about all of the people that maybe are lottery winners, that they win a lot of money really quickly. And you hear so many stories of how, winning the lottery alienates them from the people that were their friends, that they were on a par with to start with. People start coming out of the woodwork begging for money. They spend it all really quickly and end up with debts, because then they've got that lifestyle change and they want to keep the lifestyle going, and they suddenly find there's no money left and they can't. You hear so many stories of that. Do you remember the British woman, Vivi Nicholson, I think her name was, and in the early 1960s she won, I think it was about 150,000, but it's probably worth about 3 million these days. And she and her husband were really, really poor, and they lived on a very, very small amount of money. They'd come out of grinding poverty. And when they won the money, she declared she was going to spend. And that's exactly what she did. That's a good illustration of how it didn't lead to lasting happiness. They spent all of the money. Her husband, I think his name was Keith, bought a series of sports cars and actually died in a car crash behind the wheel of one of his sports cars when he was really only young, sort of 28, late 20s. And she had a couple more failed marriages. She became an alcoholic. She was hounded by the tabloid press, and really she didn't have a very happy life. And they even made her story into a musical, and I think there was a film, and she got royalties from a book and that kind of thing, but she just spent it all again and didn't really learn. She couldn't learn the lesson. She just had the money she needed to spend that money, so it didn't really make her happy. You hear about lots of footballers, who become millionaire footballers really quickly, and they're very, very young, and they don't have the experience and they don't have the maturity to actually look after that money and to understand that money is not necessarily there forever. Their footballing career could be just 10 years. They might have injury, it might be less than that, and then they could set themselves up for the future forever, but they don't necessarily do that. You have good examples of people that do, that seem quite grounded, like David Beckham, and then you have examples of people like Gaza, who really just spent all his money and had people take advantage of him, and has struggled with alcoholism and other addictions. So you see that, that those people had that money. It clearly wasn't the route to lasting happiness and contentment. And you probably know people yourself who seem to be doing quite well financially, but seem to be right miserable what's-its. And they're clearly not that happy. Perhaps they're kind of just really driven, but really stressed and workaholics, and don't stop to appreciate the fruits of their success. Or perhaps their relationships are suffering because they put their business interests first. You just don't know. It's like getting a balance. You can be quite wealthy but not have a good work-life balance. And then there's been numerous examples of people that come from wealthy families or have successful parents who just never seem to be able to follow in their footsteps, or really overshadowed by them, or the money just brings them misfortune, and they become addicts and don't really just find their own path. And it's really it's quite sad, really, because they can't compete with their parents, or money has just come so easily for them that they don't know what it means to kind of get the satisfaction of having to work for something. I think there's good examples of people who have become wealthy doing something that they really, really love, and they seem to then kind of get more satisfaction from their wealth, and maybe they give lots of it away. There's Bill Gates, and he seems to give quite a lot away. J.K. Rowling, she was a single mum with no money, and she was doing what she enjoyed doing, which was to write stories, and she became incredibly successful and wealthy. So she also, I think, gives a lot of her money away. That's another thing, isn't it? It's what you do with your money when you've got it. So perhaps that is something else we should look at. Is it not that money can't bring you happiness, but that you're spending it on the wrong things, and that if you spend it on things that make you feel good, so perhaps you give it to charity, we do a lot of charity fundraising, perhaps you give it to people who need a step up, give them a little loan, like just to get them going and they're on their own path. Or perhaps you give it to homeless people, perhaps you giving money away or doing good with money, perhaps that really, really enables you to enjoy the money that you have. So there's nothing inherently wrong in wanting to be wealthy and to do well. Our whole society is geared up for that. I mean, people just spend their lives going out every day to make money for themselves, but that's really sometimes to live, isn't it? But there's nothing wrong with wanting to do well and to be a success and to reap the financial rewards of that success. But it's what you do with the money once you've got it. And perhaps the way to stay wealthy long term is to learn to manage your money and to have some control. Or maybe you learn to invest it and you keep control of it and you know what you've got, and you're not just recklessly spending it all with no regard for the future. So perhaps the ideal is to be mindful about your money, appreciating the benefits that it brings you, whilst also being aware of the potential pitfalls of having an excess of money, not just on you, but on your family and your children, and how that might impact them. I always really admired Paul and Linda McCartney, because they obviously were very, very wealthy. Paul McCartney, one of the Beatles, has more money than he can know what to do with, I'm sure. But he still wanted to try and bring his children up to have a normal life and to relate to normal people. And he sent them all to state schools. And that was his decision, and his wife Linda McCartney's decision, to try and give them a kind of normal basis for their lives. And although I think Stella McCartney has said that it wasn't the best thing going to state school, and she was bullied because people were jealous of her wealth, but who knows whether that's had an overall positive impact or overall negative impact. It meant that she and her siblings, they would have met normal people with normal problems and not just mixed with children who were massively affluent and, you know, they would have given them a different idea about how to spend their lives. And you don't hear really any awful stories of any of Paul McCartney's children coming unstuck and becoming addicts and that kind of thing. Stella McCartney is very successful in her own right now. And I think there's another sibling, Mary McCartney, who writes vegetarian cookbooks and also has, you know, her own life. I'm sure they all do. So I think it's just a kind of attitude about money, isn't it? And about a kind of knowledge about the way that things are for most people, and not taking things for granted, and really appreciating what money can buy for you and how it can improve your life. So I also think that once you've got all bases covered financially, it's good to really appreciate the things in life. I know it's a cliche, the things in life that money can't necessarily buy. To the things like, you know, nurturing your relationships. Your relationships are really important to the quality of your life and your happiness, and having good, strong relationships with friends and with family and with your partner, if you have one, you know, having relationships with people that can really add value to your life that is not a financial value is really, really important. And I think they're the kind of things that will lead to contentment and happiness. And also appreciating the things that don't need to cost much. So, I mean, I talk about, you know, getting out in nature and that kind of thing, just appreciating the amazing planet that we've got and the beauty of nature, and how just a simple thing like a walk in the woods or a walk along the beach can really lift your spirits. It's just, you know, it doesn't have to be that you've spent a zillion pounds on holiday to the Maldives. You can just go to your nearest beach. You know, you don't have to go to the tropical rainforests of the Amazon. You can go to the woods locally to you and appreciate all that nature has to offer. And there's quite a lot of scientific evidence that being in nature can improve your mood and your happiness. So we can't just say that the simple things in life don't matter. Those are probably the things that matter most of all. And I think that we also need to realise that even if money is no object and money is unlimited, our time on earth isn't. We have limited amounts of time. So what we do with our time is probably just as important as making money and what we do with our money. So on that subject, does the way that we spend our money make a difference? I mentioned charity before, but you know, if you give your money to something, or if you do something positive with your money rather than just mindlessly spending it, does that make you more happy than just going shopping, going to Harrods and just blowing it all on a load of jewellery or something like that? You know, is how you spend it just as important as having the money in the first place? I think it is. I think it must be. If you spend it on experiences, do you get more satisfaction than just spending it on things? Because it's the experiences that you remember, isn't it? And those are the things that you look back on and think, oh, that was a great experience. You don't necessarily think, oh gosh, that was a brilliant, I don't know, item of clothing that I bought. You know, that made me so happy. It's normally very, very fleeting, isn't it? That kind of happiness. And if you have to save for something and really graft for it, does it make you happier than if you'd just got it given to you through a stroke of luck? Does it make you appreciate it more? I'm sure it must do. I really think it must do. Going back to those children of wealthy people that perhaps have everything given to them on a plate and they don't know what it's like to kind of think, oh, I really want a new bike. A new bike would make my life so much easier. And let's go for the shiny red bike, you know, so saving your pennies for your shiny red bike and then really enjoying and appreciating that bike when you got it and using it for years, getting every cent of your money back. So maybe it's not just having money that's important, but what you do with it and how you spend it. So what do you think about this topic? Can money make you happy? Can it bring you joy? Or will the relentless pursuit of money ultimately make you miserable? I'd be interested to hear what you think in the comments below. Do let me know. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give me the thumbs up and subscribe so you know next time I'm uploading a video. Thank you so much for watching this one. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.